What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, and we're live. Let's talk about it. Let's get it. TBE Boxing, live and direct. We're going to talk about this Joshua Wilder Fury situation today. Okay, let's talk about it. Live and direct from TBE Boxing. Come on in. The water is fine. Yes, the water is fine. Come on in, people. Let's talk about it. Yes. All right. So, we're going to talk about some Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. What's going on with the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder situation? We all know that Deontay Wilder is supposedly about to fight Charles Martin in a comeback fight. Okay, that's been reported out there. We're also going to talk about the fact that was Tyson Fury playing chess while Deontay Wilder was playing checkers? Is that what happened? In this whole scenario between these two fighters? From the very beginning. Okay, as we all know. Deontay Wilder picked Tyson Fury, in the first fight. It was as far as I'm concerned, that was basically a cherry pick gone wrong. Okay, that's how I see that. That's how I saw the fight. He basically cherry picked Deontay Wilder basically cherry picked Tyson Fury. And the cherry pick didn't turn out the way Deontay Wilder expected it to. Okay, now there's been a lot of talk about how Deontay Wilder resurrected Tyson Fury's career. Okay, that's one of the things that we keep hearing from these Deontay Wilder fans out there. When they're trying to justify, the fact that there should be another fight. That there should be a trilogy fight. Okay, the fact that Deontay Wilder supposedly resurrected Tyson Fury's career. I don't really see that. This whole idea of Deontay Wilder resurrecting Tyson Fury's career is a joke, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, people act as if that was the primary goal of Deontay Wilder. His whole goal was to go out there and take Tyson Fury off the couch and resurrect his career because, Deontay Wilder is such a nice guy. Okay, this is what these guys try to make it seem like, when they talk about, the fight, the first fight. But at the end of the day, we gotta see it for what it really is. Boxing is not a charity event. Okay, it's about the dollars, and if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Okay, so the whole idea, as far as I'm concerned, based on Deontay Wilder's whole career as it has been, as it has played out, in front of us, okay, was that, okay, they're going to go ahead, pick Tyson Fury, basically cherry pick him because he was like, as they themselves admit, okay, they will admit this, the Deontay Wilder fans, the Wilderettes, okay, the LDBC and all these other guys out there, rooting for Wilder, they will admit that Tyson Fury was 400 pounds, sitting on the couch, drinking, drugging, and basically eating himself into obesity. Okay. Now, to go and pick a guy like that to fight someone like that, you're gonna do it because you're trying to resurrect his career, or are you gonna do it because you're trying to get an easy win? I mean, Tyson Fury had a name, okay. He was, still the lineal champ, even though he had no belts per se, okay. And he had a name cachet. He had a name to him, okay. And if you could go out there and, even though he was on the couch, Tyson Fury was still talking a lot of crap, okay. Because I remember at the time I did a video about that back then, about how, I said that Tyson Fury should just shut up, get in the ring and fight, get back to training, get in the ring and fight instead of sitting on the sidelines talking nonsense, okay? I did a video about that. So I remember that very clearly, okay? He was on the sidelines talking about, I'm the lineal champ, I'm this and I'm that, and all these guys couldn't, tie my bootlaces, okay? I'm the champ, but he wasn't doing anything. He was just getting fatter and fatter and sitting on the sidelines. So anyway, Deontay Wilder saw this. I'm not going to say necessarily it was Deontay Wilder's idea. I'm thinking more or less it's I'm thinking it's more or less Shelly Finkel's idea, I would think. Oh yeah, hey, what's up, Sule A? Sule A says new article in World Boxing News says 2023 would be the earliest possible date for Wilder to get a title fight. Yeah, I would probably think so. Late 2022, maybe 2023. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right, based on what we're hearing so far. Because, what we're hearing is that, Deontay Wilder is going to have to go through a lot of guys to get to a title shot against the winner of the Tyson Fury AJ fight. So yeah, that sounds about right, Sule A. Yeah. So anyway, so there's Deontay Wilder and his team deciding that they were going to cherry pick Tyson Fury because he was, like I said, as they themselves say, he was fat, out of shape, drinking, eating, drugging, and basically not doing anything, just sitting on the sideline wasting away. And so they figure, he still has a name, okay, and they could get an easy fight, maybe knock him out, okay, because he was undefeated still at the time and still undefeated today. So they figured they would get an easy fight, knock him out, and then, push themselves towards a fight with Anthony Joshua maybe down the line somewhere, okay? But in this case, it was a perfect example of cherry picking gone wrong, okay? This is what that was, okay? Because by every measure that we can think of, by any measure and every measure that we can think of, Deontay Wilder should have won that fight, okay, against Tyson Fury the first time, okay? Yes, Sule A, you're right. He should have took the days and money without a doubt, and we're going to get to that. Okay, so by any means and by any measure, Deontay Wilder should have won that fight with Tyson Fury the first time, which is what he actually thought was going to happen. Okay, so now he goes in there, they fight, and Deontay Wilder barely escaped with a draw. A lot of people will say he lost that fight. Okay, now we have to keep this thing in perspective. We're talking about a guy that was 400 pounds, out of shape, drinking, drugging, smoking, doing everything in the book that you shouldn't do as a fighter. Okay, he came out. He had two fights against two, for one of another word, tomato cans. Okay, and he decided that he was going to fight. He was going to accept the fight with Deontay Wilder. Nobody believed he had a shot or a chance in that fight, including Tyson Fury's own dad. He said, no, I don't think he's ready to fight Deontay Wilder. Because remember, at the time, the propaganda out there was that Deontay Wilder was the baddest man in the land. He had the right hand of God. You know what I mean? He could knock out a mule with that right hand. Nobody can stand in front of him. Okay? So he was at his peak in terms of, what people were talking about, his abilities, because he's been knocking all these guys out. Okay? So, he had recently knocked out Ortiz, which was probably the best fight he had fought up to that point. So the idea that a guy like Tyson Fury, who's been sitting on the sideline for almost 3 years, was going to be able to come back and make, get two tune-up fights against tomato cans and then go in the ring and beat Deontay Wilder was, nobody thought that would be possible. Okay. So lo and behold, they had the fight. It ends up that Deontay Wilder barely escaped the fight with a draw. And many people would say he lost that fight, but they gave him the decision. Okay. Now, that should have been a lesson to Deontay Wilder right there. Okay. Because after that fight, and even before the fight, people was, once the fight was made, people was talking about a fight with Anthony Joshua, and there was a lot of talk going back and forth about Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. And after the fight was done, the first fight, that was the next talk. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. We all know that Anthony Joshua had all the belts except for the WBC belt. Okay. Anthony Joshua was the big guy, when it comes to, heavyweight. He was the man, so to speak. Okay. There was a lot of talk going back and forth, but Deontay Wilder never took the fight with Anthony Joshua. A lot of people would say Anthony Joshua was ducking. Okay. He didn't really want to fight. People say all kinds of different things. But at the end of the day, as we all know, recently, Deontay Wilder admitted that he could have had to fight with Anthony Joshua, but he chose to fight Fury. This is an admission. This is not speculation. This is not a rumor. This is an admission from Deontay Wilder himself, saying that he could have had the fight with Fury for more money, but he chose to fight Tyson Fury a second time instead. Okay? So it's not up for debate. Okay? He didn't take the fight with Anthony Joshua. And based on that, you can actually say he ducked the fight with Anthony Joshua. Now the question you have to ask yourself is, why would you do such a thing? You should have been warned from the first fight with Fury that after you had a draw with Fury the first time, that should have been a warning right there. Okay? You just fought a guy who was 400 pounds, out of shape, sitting on the couch, drinking, smoking, eating, and doing everything you're not supposed to do as a fighter, okay? And you barely escaped with a draw against him. Okay? What more do you need to know? That should have been a big warning sign right there. If not to Deontay Wilder, it should have been a warning sign to his team. Okay? Like, hey, he just had to look at this guy's out of shape, what the hell? Let's not even, take the second fight. We're getting a big chance we're getting a big shot against Anthony Joshua. Let's go that route. Okay? Let's take that route because our guy barely escaped with a draw. Let's take the other route. We're getting offered more money. We're getting a chance to get undisputed. Let's go that route. No. No. They decided that they was going to fight Tyson Fury again. Now, Sule, everyone that wasn't a Legacy Wilder fan knew that the moment he turned down the DAZN offer. Exactly. Okay. Now he turns down the offer from DAZN, okay, the zone, and decides that he wants to fight Tyson Fury again. Now who I mean, now, you know, again, I'm thinking that I don't, you know, we could blame this all on Deontay Wilder, but again, I'm not going to do that. I'm not thinking that he thought of this on his own. I'm thinking that he was basically advised, or you know, and I'm thinking that Shelly Finkel had a lot to do with that. He was, you know, Shelly Finkel convinced him to take the fight with Fury again, because they were still thinking maybe he can go in there and knock out Fury, okay, and that the fight with Anthony Joshua will be a more dangerous fight. I mean, that all jibes with the whole, you know, the way Deontay Wilder has been, you know, advised and managed over the years with Shelly Finkel, just taking the safest route that they can take, you know, fight nobody's really, you know, not stepping up, didn't step up to fight Klitschko when he could unify with Klitschko. You know, just taking a safe route, basically. So they decide that, oh, you know what? Even though we escaped with a draw, still the Anthony Joshua fight is probably more dangerous. Let's take the safe route. Let's go back with Fury again. Okay, that's basically what they did. Okay, and we all know what the rest is. The rest is history. But I mean, why would you have taken that fight with Anthony Joshua? I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, a chance at undisputed. Okay, you're making more money, probably $100 million, close to it. Why wouldn't you take that fight with Anthony Joshua instead? The idea, you know, and now I know there's a lot of fans out there thinking, oh, well, you know, Joshua ducked it, but we already know this is not true, because out of Deontay Wilder's mouth, we have heard the truth, and he has said that he could have had that fight with Joshua, but he chose to fight Fury instead. Okay, an admission from his own mouth. So there's no disputing that, unless you're going to call Deontay Wilder a liar. Okay, all right. Let's look at what Fury did. Okay, because now remember, Fury was sitting on the couch, like we said, nothing was going his way. He was drinking, drugging, mental illness, the whole 9 yards. And, you know, we got to remember that the title of this live stream is "Did Tyson Fury Flex Major Chess Moves on Wilder by Making his next two fight with, you know, against Anthony Joshua?" So Tyson Fury, after the first fight with Deontay Wilder, where he got a draw, which was a major coup for him. Okay, I mean, by any, like I said, by any measure, he should have lost that fight. Okay, what did he do after that? He started making moves immediately. Okay, he signed a deal with ESPN for $100 million. So we can see that the difference in management and the difference in the way they're maneuvering the fighters. Okay, he started looking around and looking at the lay of the land and decided that, hey, you know, he started getting offers now because he put up a great fight against Deontay Wilder. And what did he do? He took two other fights before you know, the next fight, the second fight, to get himself in better shape. Okay, he took a deal with ESPN. Okay, so we see already that Tyson Fury is outmaneuvering Deontay Wilder. He's making big moves that Deontay Wilder and his team not making at all. They're not making any moves. Okay, they had a chance to fight Anthony Joshua and they turned it down. Like you know. And again, I'm going to say that I think that had more to do with Shelly Finkel than it had to do with Deontay Wilder. I think that Shelly Finkel advised him to do that, because remember, again, when Deontay Wilder had a chance back in the day, when he had a chance to unify against Klitschko, Shelly Finkel said, well, Wilder was just a baby. He wasn't ready for that. Okay, that was his advice. You know, I mean, the heavyweight champion of the world, he was just a baby. He wasn't ready to fight Klitschko. And we saw what happened. Okay, Fury ended up fighting Klitschko, beating him. Okay, and then after Fury lost all the titles, Anthony Joshua came out and collected them all and now he had all the belts. Okay, so that's the history. Okay, so like I said, we see that Tyson Fury is making major moves. Okay, he's maneuvering, he's doing things, while Deontay Wilder is just not really doing much. Okay, he didn't turn. I mean, at the end of the day, he had a draw against Tyson Fury. So I guess you could say, from his perspective, that wasn't the ultimate outcome. Okay, it wasn't a good outcome to have a draw against a guy that was sitting on the sideline for 3 years, that was drinking, drugging, and all of that. So from his perspective, it wasn't really a good look. But from Tyson Fury's perspective, it was a great outcome. I mean, it wasn't the best outcome, but it was a lot better than what people expected to happen. People expected him to get knocked out by Deontay Wilder. Okay, but that didn't happen. He had a draw, and so he took that draw, and he cached it into a deal with ESPN. Okay, and then people are now talking about him fighting AJ. Okay, but again, they had a second fight, and we all know what happened in the second fight. Okay, it was a disaster for Deontay Wilder. He got knocked out, basically. Okay. Now, we all know what happened after that. Let's see. What do you Sule A saying that Fury's deal with ESPN was a $5 million deal, was a 5-fight deal with an upside of $100 million, while Wilder's was a 3-fight with a guarantee of $100 million. Okay, so he had a guarantee of $100 million, and he turned it down to fight Tyson Fury a second time. Now, he should have took the deal with DAZN and to fight Anthony Joshua instead of fighting Fury a second time, because at least you're gonna make more money. And even if you lose, there's a chance that if you don't lose, you might get. And the reward was so much to in fighting Joshua as opposed to fighting Fury a second time. I just can't believe that he actually did that. Okay, I just don't see why. What the hell was his team doing over there? What was Shelly Finkel thinking about? Okay, to advise them to go ahead and take the fight with Fury a second time after he just barely escaped with a draw the first time against a Fury that was just coming off the couch. I mean, what do you think was going to happen the next time with a Fury that had 2 more fights in between? What do you think was going to happen when Fury had dusted off some of the ring rust and was was getting in better condition and was looking even better than he did when they first had the first fight? I mean, that should have told you something right there and then, that they should never took that fight. You're right about that, Sule. That was, I don't think it was one of the dumbest decisions ever. It was the dumbest decision ever. Okay, it was the dumbest decision ever made in boxing. Okay, and again, I'm thinking that was more to do with Shelly Finkel than anything else. I think that was Shelly. That's probably why we are hearing that Deontay Wilder is going to get rid of, practically as either gotten rid of Shelly Finkel, or he's going to get rid of Shelly Finkel. Okay, that was the first thing he should have did after the loss with Fury, was to get rid of Shelly Finkel instead of Mark Breland. That was, to me, his first move was he was supposed to get rid of Shelly Finkel, because at the end of the day, Shelly Finkel also had a lot to do with the fact that the rematch clause expired. Okay, he had a lot to do with that. That's his job. That's his bailiwick. That's in his court. He should have handled that. Okay, as the manager, that should have never happened. Okay, so so we see that now after this fight after the second fight where he lost in spectacular fashion against Tyson Fury, we heard nothing from Deontay Wilder for like almost a year. Okay, for whatever reason, I'm not going to speculate. Okay, but there's been we've heard all the talk. So he didn't say anything for almost a whole year, in the interim, while he was, silent as a church mouse, there was a lot of speculation on YouTube, on LDBC, about the floppy gloves, the glove gate, the Mark Breland, the Watergate, okay, the referee gate, okay. There was all kind of gates going around, okay, about why he lost the fight. Nobody, none of the LDBC Wilderettes wanted to accept what happened. It was such a devastating loss. It was so, it was such a blowout. I mean, it was hard to watch. Let's put it like that, okay? It was a disaster for Deontay Wilder. So nobody wanted to believe it. They came up with all kind of excuses about what happened, okay? They was showing videos of floppy gloves. They were speculating about the Watergate with Mark Breland. They were saying that the judges, the referee was bought and paid for. I mean, you name it. They came up with the excuse, okay? Whatever they can come up with. And at the same, now, while all that was going on, Deontay Wilder, to his credit, was silent. He didn't really say anything about all of that, which, was good, really. It wasn't good that he was silent overall, but it was good that he wasn't saying anything about all these various excuses and accusations, okay? So now, in the meantime, Fury was out there saying, hey, I'm ready for the next fight. Let's get this fight going. He was out there trying to promote the third fight, basically, okay? We didn't hear nothing from Wilder, okay? The LDBC and the YTBC community was out there making the excuses and, talking about, Fury was a scumbag, Fury was this, that, and the other, the whole 9 yards. They went in on Fury, okay? We all know. Blue Blood Sports, Phantom Boxing, the whole LDBC community went in on Wilder, okay? If it was up to them, there would have been an APB put out on Fury, okay? And they would have picked him up and threw him in jail, okay, if it was up to them, okay? So finally, after all of this hoopla, okay, Wilder breaks his silence. And what does he do? I mean, he basically co-signs all of these wild and unhinged conspiracy theories about the fight, and especially the one that's even the wildest of all, about Mark Breland poisoning his water. I mean, that was the worst one as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Now, we could say a lot of things about Fury. I mean, Wilder. We could say, okay, Wilder said he didn't feel like himself. A lot of that happened to fighter. Some people say the same thing was with Joshua. He said he didn't really feel himself, like himself during that fight. We don't, maybe fighters say that when they lose. Okay, maybe they have a premonition before the fight. Who knows? Whatever. But I mean, Wilder not feeling well, his suit was heavy or whatever. That could have been anything. I mean, to me, the most likely scenario would have been maybe he got the COVID and didn't really know it. Okay, maybe that was the situation. But to say that Mark Breland poisoned his water was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. I mean, to throw Mark Breland under the bus like that, to basically impugn his credibility like that is I mean, it was ridiculous. Okay. And Wilder got a lot of heat for that. Okay. But anyway, he came out with all and basically co-signed all the excuses. Okay. Then we come to find out that the rematch clause was in jeopardy. Okay. And during that whole time while he was silent and Fury was out there trying to promote the fight himself and, talking about the fight, and then, the COVID thing, heated up and all of these things happened, Fury decided that, listen, I'm tired of waiting for Wilder, okay? I'm going to go ahead and move on, okay? And, because I'm pretty sure that at the time, you know, there was a lot of murmuring going on from Anthony Joshua about a possible fight with Fury. And, you know, right away, Fury's team, you know, saw that, hey, wait a minute. You know, instead of fighting, you know, Deontay Wilder again, we already beat him twice from our perspective. What's the point of fighting Wilder again? Why not just fight, you know, go ahead and fight for the undisputed against Joshua and make, you know, $100 million or whatever it's going to be in that fight. And so he decided to go that route. Now, again, this is an example of, you know, making moves, okay? That's a business move, okay? You know, all this talk about, you know, by the LDBC that Wilder, that Fury, you know, was ducking Wilder. I mean, you just knocked the guy out, okay? But you're ducking him, okay? I mean, you beat him when you came off the couch, 400 pounds and could barely stand up. And you had a draw with him, which arguably was a win for you by many people in the boxing community. When you got yourself together, you end up knocking him out in brutal fashion, okay? But somehow or the other, you're afraid of this guy. You're ducking him now. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. But this is what they were out there saying. Oh, he's ducking, you know, that right hand, you know, from Joshua could, you know, come on, people. We got to get real, okay? LDBC got to get it together, man. I mean, these guys are out of their minds, okay? To accuse Fury of ducking Wilder is a ridiculous concept, okay? The bottom line is he beat Wilder twice, you know, really at the end of the day. And I'm sure that he had no fear whatsoever and no worries about beating Wilder a third time, okay? So the idea that he was ducking Wilder is ridiculous on his face, okay? I mean, you just knock somebody out, but yet still you're ducking him. And we have to be real about this. Usually when you knock a guy out like that in such a fashion, when you beat a guy in such a fashion, they don't get a rematch right away, okay? So the idea that Fury should have given, you know, because of Wilder, you know, this is when they came up with that whole, you know, he resurrected Wilder's career. And so Wilder, I mean, you know, that he resurrected Fury's career. And so Fury should give him a shot, okay? So now they're appealing to Fury's morality, okay, or his morals, after they've been impugning his morals this whole time, saying he was a bum, a cheat, a liar, a criminal, okay? They call him everything in the book, you know. He have no morals, he have no, you know, he's not loyal, he's this, he's that, he's a dog, he's this. I mean, you name it, they call him. But now they're appealing to his morality. When they have already been saying he had no morals. So you see how desperation works. This, you know, it's desperation. Okay. So, you know, now, I mean, I'm not saying that Fury is above cheating. You know, we all know that Fury had issues, you know, with PD. He'd been accused of PD use on probably more than one occasion. Okay. So for me, if we were going to say that there was something funny about the loss against Fury, I would more look towards that, you know, PED use, than to say that, you know, Mark Breland poisoned his water. That doesn't make any sense. To say that maybe he was using PEDs, that would make more sense to me. And that would have been the route I would have went if I was going to contest the fight, okay, for whatever reasons, okay? But then that's hard to do because they had drug tests after the fight and they both came out clean. So there was no poison in Wilder's system from any water. And there was, you know, according to the drug test, there was no PEDs in Fury's system. So they both came out clean after the fight was over. Okay. So the idea that, you know, Wilder's water was poisoned by Mark Breland, ridiculous on his face. And the idea that Fury was taking any kind of PEDs doesn't add up because they took tests after the fight. Okay, so that's so much for that argument. Okay, so anyway, Wilder is now, you know, basically sitting there, basically appealing to Fury's so-called honor that he never had, according to the LDBC, okay, and basically copping a plea for another fight, for a third fight after the rematch clause had expired, okay? And so now, again, when all this happened, I was saying that, hey, Wilder was ducking Fury because he didn't say anything for all these months, almost a year, and he didn't really want to fight with Fury. If he did, he would have came out and said something. He'd have been out promoting the fight, but he said nothing for almost a year. That was my argument, okay? And that, basically was just another form of ducking, okay? But a lot of people came out and said to me, no, that's not the case. It was because, the pandemic. Even Bob Arum supposedly came out and said something about, it was the fight, the pandemic, this and that and the other. So, all right. So if it was the pandemic, then the reason the fight didn't happen is not because Fury was ducking, as the LDBC is claiming it, or that Wilder was ducking, as I was saying. It was just because of the pandemic. Okay, so let's agree that it was because of the pandemic that the fight didn't happen. Let's forget about all the ducking accusations on both sides. Okay, let's say it was the pandemic. Okay, so the pandemic came and the fight didn't happen. Fury is looking, is keeping one eye on Anthony Joshua, and we see Anthony Joshua over there, making noise about wanting to fight Fury. Why wouldn't Fury go that route for the $100 million and chance at undisputed than to fight Deontay Wilder for a third time? What does he have to prove? What does he have to prove against Wilder that he hasn't proved already? So we see that Fury decided that, I'm going to the Wilder route. I'm going the AJ route. I'm going to fight AJ instead. And so he made another move. Okay? He made another move, what we'd call a chess move. In the meantime, Wilder is still playing checkers. He's going to arbitration. He's going the mediation route. He's still on. He's up there talking. He comes out and starts talking about, Wilder is, he started basically spewing the same nonsense that the LDBC was spewing. Okay, talking about, autopsy and Mark Breland poisoning his water, weights in the gloves, the floppy gloves. And even though we all know that the floppy glove was in the first fight, okay, not the second fight. Okay, so he's continuing to play checkers while Fury is playing chess. Okay, and the LDBC and all these Wilderettes out there are playing checkers with Wilder. Okay, they still encourage him to continue playing checkers while Fury is making chess moves. Okay, so now what's the result of all of that? All of this arbitration, mediation stuff that was going on, the waste of time. Okay, what did it do for Wilder at the end of the day? Nothing. Okay, now the fight between Anthony Joshua and Fury is almost complete, if not complete already. Okay, and Wilder is going to have to do what he was always going to have to do: go back to the back of the line and start all over again. Work his way back up, earn a shot at the title, which is what happened when you get knocked out, usually in a fight. Okay, when you get knocked out in a fight from an opponent, you don't get a chance to go back in there right away and get a rematch. It doesn't usually happen like that. Usually what happens is that you have to go and rebuild. Okay, so if you were to ask me, would I want to see another fight with Anthony Joshua with Wilder and Fury, or a fight with Anthony Joshua and Fury? I'd much rather see the fight with Anthony Joshua and Fury than to see another fight with Wilder and Fury right away. I would much rather see the fight with Anthony Joshua. Okay, depending on who wins in that fight, the Wilder Fury fight could happen later. Okay, I mean, there's nothing stopping it from happening later, sometime down the road. But I'm not anxious to see that fight again, which more than likely we're probably going to see the same thing. I would much rather see the Joshua Fury fight than to see that fight, and so that's how I'm looking at it. And again, it looks like Wilder is playing checkers. Sule says Wilder is playing Connect Four while Fury and AJ are playing chess. Yeah, you're 100% right. Okay, that's exactly what's going on. Okay, so now Wilder is back to where he started from. He got to build himself back up. We hear and talk about him fighting Charles Martin. Okay, and all these lies and that was coming from the LDBC, the misinformation, the disinformation about the fact that Wilder was going to stop the fight between AJ and Fury through mediation. He was going to go to court with proof that he had proof. This is according to these guys over the LDBC, Phantom Boxing and Blue Blood Sports. There's a whole bunch more of them, but those two guys, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, were the two main guys pushing the false narrative about Wilder having proof to sustain the accusations that they were pushing. Okay, and at the end of the day, we see that when Wilder came out with his proof, there was no proof. It was just basically the same videos that these LDBC guys were pushing. That's what he came out with. We saw the mediation thing go nowhere. Okay, now we're hearing talk about arbitration, but arbitration is going to cost money. Okay, who's going to pay for the arbitration? Who's going to pay for the lawyers? Okay, the LDBC, Phantom Boxing, Blue Blood Sports, they're not going to pay for the lawyers. But they're out there talking about Wilder should fight it to the bitter end. Okay? Continuing to play checkers while Fury and Joshua, like Sule A said, is playing chess. Okay? So at the end of the day, we see that, that Wilder is going to have to go back to the drawing board, okay, which he should have been doing from the very beginning after the fight. He should have been back in the gym, after a couple of months to recuperate. He should have went back in the gym. The idea that he should fight Fury immediately after that fight was a big mistake. If I was his team, even though I had a rematch clause, I would have said, no, we're not going to fight Fury right now. We're going to go back to the gym and we're going to work and build. Okay, that's what he should have did immediately. So forget about the rematch clause. Okay, let's work, let's build, let's get Wilder, back in shape. Let's get him back, to a position where. Let's work on some things, improve his skill set, and then, take on Fury somewhere down the line. That's what that would be my advice to him. Okay. So that's the best thing that ever happened to him. That he never had to fight a third time, I would think, because I think that if you'd had to fight immediately after, if it wasn't for the pandemic, and he would have had that fight immediately after, in less than a year after the first fight, he would have got knocked out again. Okay. I don't see that there would be a different outcome, based on what we saw in the second fight. I think that, the best thing that happened was that pandemic, so that the fight didn't really happen. Okay, because we would have seen the same thing for a third time. Regardless of what these LDBC guys out there and fanboys out there talking about, one punch could change the fight. One punch could change the fight in any of the two previous fights, but it didn't. Okay, it didn't help him in the second fight. Okay. The first fight, it didn't make him win the fight. In the second fight, it didn't help him from losing the fight. So what makes it think that it's going to be a difference in the third fight if they would have had the fight right away? It would have been no different, I don't think. Wilder needs to get back into the gym. He needs to make some changes. Okay? Make some changes in the way he fight, the way he is, make some changes in his skill set in order for him to go out there and have a chance against a guy like Fury or even Joshua. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. So we see that now he's gonna fight Charles Martin, as they say, that it's been reported. And so again, basically what it comes down to is that Fury has basically outmaneuvered Wilder at every turn since the original cherry pick by Wilder's team to fight Fury in the first fight. Okay, he's been outmaneuvering, making moves, playing chess, while Wilder's team is playing checkers, and so we see the result of it. The result is that Fury is getting ready to have, make the biggest money of his career in a fight against a mega fight against Anthony Joshua. Okay, and not just one fight, but 2 fights. Okay, so it's going to be 2. So he probably make close to $300 million in 2 fights. While Deontay Wilder is going to have to go back to the drawing board, and he's going to be fighting Charles Martin. How much money do you think he's going to make for that fight? So we see the results. The difference between playing checkers and playing chess. Okay, so Fury is playing chess. Deontay Wilder still playing checkers. Okay, and so we see the result of it. So now, Deontay is gonna have a comeback fight against Charles Martin. Okay, I would think that he would beat Charles Martin. Okay, I've seen Charles Martin fight. He's not exactly a defensive wizard. Okay, and we all know, regardless of the limitations of Deontay Wilder, he does have a solid right hand, and if it lands, I don't care who you are, okay, you're gonna be in trouble. Okay, and so more than likely that right hand is gonna land on Charles Martin more than once, and so I'm thinking that he should be a pretty easy fight against Charles. He should be able to build back up his confidence in a fight against a Charles Martin. That's I don't know if that. I'm not even sure if that's a fight he should necessarily take, because that looked to be too easy, too low of a bar, really, as far as I'm concerned. He should maybe fight something fight a little more difficult than that. But it is what it is. We're not gonna throw that fight under the bus. So maybe he needs to build back his confidence. Okay, so he's gonna fight Charles Martin, and by all indications, and by any measure, he should be able to stop Charles Martin from what we've seen of Charles Martin so far. Okay, so that in itself should build back up his confidence, I would think. It should be a fairly easy fight for him. Okay, and then after that, we're hearing talks about possible fight against Andy Ruiz. Okay, and eventually a fight, maybe with Usyk, or maybe with the winner of the Povetkin-Dillian White fight, which would be a good fight. So basically, Fury and AJ is going to fight twice. So that's the end of this year. Okay, so we're looking at that. 2021 is gone. Okay, now that's going to be taken up by the 2 fights between AJ and Fury. They're not going to fight 3 times for the year. Okay, so there's not going to be a Wilder fight for the title anytime soon. And as from what we are hearing, despite what some of these guys, the LDBC is talking about, Wilder is getting jumped up to #1 contender status. That's all foolishness. How can you be number 1 contender? Mean that you're next in line? But he's not going to be next in line for any fight with the winner of the AJ Fury fight. He's going to have to go through a lot of guys up there. There's a lot of guys up there in front of him. Usyk, Deontay Wilder. Not Deontay Wilder. Dillian White, Povetkin. Okay, so there's a lot of guys up there in front of him. Even Pulev. Okay, so it looks like basically what it's coming down to is that at the end of the day, Deontay Wilder is going to have to get to the back of the line and start all over again and work his way back up the ladder to get a shot at AJ Fury, the winner of that fight, whoever that might be. And that probably is not going to happen until sometime in maybe late 2022 or early 2023 at the most. Okay, that's basically what it looks like. It's looking like right now. So not only is he going to have to fight his way back up, but he's going to have to maintain his status. Okay, he got to maintain against a lot of killers in the division right now. You got a lot of guys in the division. In the out there, lining up, because it's 3. It's going to be 4 belts. Whoever the winner of the fight, I think it's 5 belts. Okay, you know, I think the IBO is in there as well. The WBC, WBA, IBF, IBO, and WBO belt. I think Joshua has all those belts except for the WBC. So he has 4 belts, and then there's the 5th belt would be the WBO belt. Okay, so that means that there's going to be a lot of guys in varying positions in the rankings ahead of Wilder for each of those belts. Okay, so Wilder is going to have to maneuver his way through all of that to get a shot at, you know, different belts. Okay, whether it's IBF, the WBO, or whatever. Okay, maybe he might be in a better position with the WBO belt. We don't know. Okay, you know, but from what you're hearing, they're going to rank him up there somewhere. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Now, again, you know, like I've said, Fury has been playing chess, Wilder has been playing checkers, and the result, we see what it for what it is. Wilder, you know, might never even get a shot at Fury again. We don't know, because it's not necessarily a fact that Fury might, you know, is going to win the fight against Joshua. We don't know how that's going to play out. He might end up losing, or he might end up winning, and maybe he might win, fight a couple of fights after that, and retire before Wilder even get a chance to reach him. Okay. We don't know. I mean, when you're sitting on like $300 million, you know, I mean, you know, talk about silk sheets, okay? Because that's about what he's gonna have in his pocket after those 2 fights with Joshua, and then maybe if he wins, then maybe 1 or 2 fights after that. You know, he's gonna be sitting on a lot of money. Maybe he might decide, hey, you know what? I'm done with boxing. I'm where I want to be. I'm good. We don't know. We'll see how it plays out, though. But Wilder might never get another chance at Fury again. Okay, I mean, Fury has said he doesn't want to fight Wilder. You know, he's not going to give Wilder a shot by any means. But we'll see how it plays out in the end. Okay, you know, maybe Fury might lose, and then, you know, he's thrown down there in the, you know, close to the rankings with Wilder, and then maybe they'll both have to fight their way back up, or, you know, they'll get a shot, you know, at each other on their road back up into contention. But you know, I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But, you know, like I said, you know, time is gonna be passing by. Wilder's getting older. He's not getting any younger. Neither is Joshua or Fury, for that matter. So who's to say what's gonna happen? You know, depending on the winner of the fight. I mean, win or lose in the Joshua Fury fight, they're both going to be rich men, okay? And so who to say they might not retire after that? You know, we don't know. But I doubt that will happen, but we'll see how it plays out. Mr. Jones, Fury Joshua on ESPN pay-per-view, no DAZN. Their debt has risen to $1.9 billion. Not sure what that means. You know, what do you mean their debt is $1.9 billion? But, you know, whether the fight's on pay-per-view or DAZN, I mean, I don't know what difference that makes. I mean, you know, the fight is going to generate a lot of money regardless. So I'm pretty sure that, you know, DAZN should make a lot of money off of for that fight, and it's a 2-fight deal. So, you know, they're going to make even more money. So I'm not sure what your point is, but you're saying that it's going to be on ESPN pay-per-view. Well, that might be the case. We don't know. We'll see how it plays out. That's an interesting point, though. So Wilder, again, let's see how Wilder, you know, I mean, I'm interested to see how soon that fight is going to be, his comeback fight, whether it's against Charles Martin or whoever, Hellenius or, you know, Konaki or whoever, you know, is going to be. It should be an interesting situation. So you know, we're looking forward to seeing what happens in that regard. Okay, it should be interesting, and you know, we'll see if Wilder could actually make it up through the rankings, you know, on fighting, you know, against guys like Ruiz, Usyk, and if you can get past guys like Dylan White or Povetkin, or even Pulev. Okay, you know, There's no guarantee that he's going to get past those guys to get another shot at the title anyway. So, I mean, from what I'm hearing, the quickest route to the title would be a fight against Usyk, who was the WBO mandatory. So beating Usyk would jump him above Usyk into the rankings. Okay. But then the interim champion would be the winner of the Dylan White Povetkin fight. So they'll probably have a closer shot at the title than he would. Right now, Usyk is supposedly in line for a shot, and he could be the guy to hold up the fight. For undisputed, that is, unless they drop that WBO belt. So we don't know how that's going to play out. We're hearing off and on that first we hear he's taking a step aside money. That Usyk is taking step aside money. Then we hear he's not taking step aside money. So we don't know what the truth is behind all of that. But we'll see how it plays out as time as we move forward. I would think that it would be smart for him to take a step aside money to get a chance at undisputed, as opposed to just having Joshua stripped up the WBO belt and he's just fighting for the WBO belt. I mean, I would take the step aside money and then get a shot at the full undisputed, as opposed to getting a shot at the WBO belt in some kind of elimination bout. That's what I would do if I was Usyk. I'll make them pay me, and then I'll get paid for doing nothing. And then, I get a shot at the full undisputed, as opposed to just getting a shot at the WBO belt because it's chipped it from Joshua. That would be the business move as far as I can see. Okay, and so that's the route I would take. And if I was advising Usyk, that's how I tell him to do. Take the money and run. Take the money and then get a shot at the full belt. Make the deal. Okay, make the deal and get a shot at all the belts, as opposed to just getting one belt. Okay. That's where the money is with all the belts. Okay. Again, I don't, like I'm saying, I don't really see anything wrong with what not Joshua, but what Fury is doing in terms of not making that third fight with Deontay Wilder. I think from a business point of view, okay, it's best. What he's doing now is the best thing for him to do for his own career, which is what Deontay Wilder should have done instead of taking the second fight with Fury. And we saw how that plays out. He lost his belt, okay, and he only made about $30 million when he could have made over $100 million, okay? Generational money he could have made. But instead, he decided to go the Fury route, and we see how all that played out. Lost his belt, not only did he lose his belt, but he lost his mind as well. You know what I mean? Some could say, because he doesn't seem to be taking the loss very well. Okay, we see how how he came out after being silent for like almost a year, and then came out with unhinged conspiracy theories. At the end of the day, we gotta see the difference between how Joshua handled his loss and how Deontay Wilder is taking his loss. Okay, he's basically he's basically not taking the loss very well. Okay, in Anthony Joshua's case, he basically just accepted the loss. Congratulated Andy Ruiz every chance he got. Okay, said that he was the best man that night, and went back into the gym and did what he had to do to get back out there and get his belts back. And we saw that that's exactly what he did. Okay, he didn't make any excuses. He could have made excuses, and a lot of people would have rolled with him with the excuses. They would have went along with his excuses. But he didn't make any. He just said, hey, I lost. I'm not going to make any excuses. And not only did he say he's not going to make any excuses, when people was trying to make excuses for him. And he said, no. Don't make an excuse for me, okay? I'm not going to go with that. Andy Ruiz was a better man that night. He wanted to fight fair and square. I'm just going to go back to the gym and work on my craft and then come back and get my belts back. That's it. Don't make no excuses for me. a total opposite of Deontay Wilder, who had people out there making all kind of excuses for him, and instead of coming out and saying, no, not we're not going to make any excuses, he came out and co-signed every excuse in the book, including the fact that Mark Breland poisoned his water. Okay, I mean, it's a two different outlook, two different styles. One has great character. The next one has a total lack of character, and at the end of the day, the loss against Fury, totally destroyed Deontay Wilder. All that reputation that he had built up, about being the baddest man in the land, the right hand of God, all that talk he was doing about a body, having a body in the ring, what I'm saying? I mean, all that came back, at the end of the day, it was just hyperbole, just talk. And we all saw how everything played out when these are old saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Okay. And we see in the case of Deontay Wilder that, that wasn't the case. Okay. He basically, at the end of the day, you got to know when to, hold him, know when to fold him, know when to walk away, and you got to know when to run. Okay. He didn't know any of that. He just, basically collapsed, okay, when he lost. And, the result is what we see. Again, now he's back at the back of the line. He got to work his way back up. And yeah, that's what he should have did in the first place. Just did that. Forget about all the excuses, because none of that did him any good. It didn't help his career at all. Okay? Now he's basically the laughing stock of boxing to a lot of people, a sore loser, like Lomachenko, who both of these guys had very, was held in very high esteem before they lost, and then after they lost, they're making excuses, and then now they're basically, people look at them as just, sore losers, as opposed to how Joshua handled it. Okay, even though he lost, and it was a terrible loss for Joshua, he did what he was supposed to do. Okay, handled the loss like a man, came back, won his title, and now he's even more respected now than he was before the loss. Okay, so I think Deontay Wilder should take a lesson from that. Okay, and try to learn something. Instead of continue. Because we're hearing all this talk about going to arbitration now, and they're going to continue. We hear the LDBC still giving them bad advice. Talking about, take it to the bitter end. Well, what are you talking about? Take what to what bitter end? Forget about arbitration. Forget about all that. Okay, just go ahead and back to the gym and do what you have to do and get ready for your next fight. Forget about this nonsense about arbitration and and taking it to the bitter end. These guys have been giving you all this advice from the very beginning. That's bad advice. These LDBC Wilderettes out there, giving you all kind of ridiculous advice and making up all kind of conspiracy theories, and you've been listening to them, and the result is where you are right now, nowhere. Okay, Mr. Jones. Hopefully, in the next 2 weeks, the Fury Joshua contract gets signed and the fight is on. I definitely hope so, Mr. Jones. I would definitely hope that's the case, because I definitely want to see that fight. Okay, that's going to be a great fight, I believe. I think that's a 50-50 fight. At the end of the day, I think that, Tyson Fury is a more fluid boxer than Joshua is. Okay. I think he's a very slick, in terms of his boxing. Well, Mr. Jones, who I got winning, I'm working my way up to that. Okay, that's what I was working my way up to before you asked the question. Okay, like I said, I think that Tyson Fury is a slicker boxer, just from just the look alone. Okay, we see, he's a very slick, very fluid, very rhythmic type of fighter. Slipping punches, moving, fighting the front foot, fighting the back foot. He's done a lot of fighting on the back foot, but after that Kronk gym's experience, we see him fight on the front foot against Wilder and knock him out. So we can say that Fury is very versatile in that way. You can find the back foot, you can find the front foot. Okay. Now we know that Joshua is more of a back foot fighter. I mean, more of a front foot fighter, especially at the beginning of his career. But we have seen him, make adjustments in the Andy Ruiz second fight and be able to fight in the back foot as well. Okay. Now I don't think he's as smooth a fighter as or as slick of a fighter, boxer as Tyson Fury. But I would think that because we saw it against Klitschko that I think he's a better fighter than Fury is. Okay, I mean I'd say that Fury is a better boxer, but Joshua is the better fighter. Okay, that's what I would say. And again, as to who is going to win, I'm thinking that again it's be a 50-50 fight. Okay, now I mean we can look at the fight between Deontay Wilder and Fury and see how that played out. The first fight, not the second fight. We all know what happened there. Depending on how Fury fights Joshua is going to be how the fight is going to play out. Is he going to be able to, walk Joshua down and knock him out like he did Deontay Wilder? I don't think so. Okay, I think that Anthony Joshua is a more versatile fighter than Deontay Wilder. He got more tools in the tool chest, in terms of punch selection, movement. He's just more versatile, and he has more. He doesn't have the power for Deontay Wilder, but his power is nothing to be sneezed at. Okay. And I think that it's possible if he lands some of those combinations that we see him throw uppercuts and the like, he could possibly knock out Fury. And we have seen from Fury that he can also knock people out. Okay, he battered Deontay Wilder, so he can fight on the front foot. He can fight on the back foot. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be a 50-50 fight. Okay. It could be anybody's fight. It depends on how the fight actually plays out. If Deontay Wilder come in there, I keep saying Deontay Wilder. If Anthony Joshua comes in there and make a fight of it, as opposed to it being just a pure boxing match, I think he has a shot. But again, he's no slouch at boxing either if he has to box. He's a pretty good boxer when he has to box, okay? And, but, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to pick a winner in this fight, okay? I'm thinking that, Joshua might come in there heavy and as opposed to his last couple of fights and try to take the fight to Fury and try to knock Fury out. I mean, we have heard the rumors about, we heard it from Fury himself, actually, that when Joshua was an amateur, he sparred with Joshua and Joshua almost knocked him out. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm not leaning any way right now towards any particular fighter right now. I want to see more, before the fight. I want to see the fight get closer. We're going to see how they, if they're showing the sparring, if they're showing the training videos, but I mean, at the end of the day, I usually roll with the better boxer. That's how I usually roll. Okay. And I'm thinking that, Fury is the better boxer and, skills pays the bills. Okay. And we've seen that he's demonstrated he does have power when he needs it. So all this talk about him being feather-fisted is nonsense. Okay. And so, if anything, I'll probably lean a little bit towards Fury to outbox Joshua, unless Joshua decides to make it a rough and tough and tumble fight and just take it to Fury. That could happen. And I can see, Joshua winning in that scenario. But like I said, I tend to lead towards the better boxer all the time. And to me, Fury is a better boxer than Joshua. He's more fluid. He's smoother. To me, Joshua is a little bit too stiff, even though he got the power and he can fight. Like we saw that demonstrated against Klitschko. He got balls. He's gonna you know, you can knock him down, but he's going to get up and you know, so he does have the fight. You know, he's a fighter, okay. But to me, you know, he's too stiff. His head is you know, he moves his head as much as he should. You know, although in the last fight I saw him with Pulev, he was slipping punches as opposed to blocking them. So he was moving his head from side to side, and he slipped a lot of punches from Pulev. But Pulev is not that big, okay? So we don't know how that's going to play out against a guy who's bigger than him or the same size as him, and is able to you know, put that jab in his face. If you're going to be able to slip it like he slipped the Pulev jab, okay? So we'll see how it plays out. But again, you know, I would think that I would probably lean slightly towards Fury because of his boxing skills, but I wouldn't count Joshua out by any means. And again, you know, based on both guys' particulars, I'm going to look at this right now, at this moment right now, as a 50-50 fight. And we'll see how it plays out when the fight gets closer. And, you know, we see some videos and some training videos of these guys and see what they're really, you know, what they're really looking like, okay? What weight Fury is going to come in, what weight Joshua is going to come in. All that's important in about, you know, in who's going to win this fight. We got to see how that plays out before I can actually call the fight. So we'll see how it actually works out. Will Joshua gas mid-rounds? I don't think so. I mean, not in an important fight like that. You know, I wouldn't think, you know. He said Pulev made Joshua look good. Pulev boxing style is horrible. Well, you know, I mean, Joshua never really looks that good anyway. You know, except when he fought Andy Ruiz the second time, he looked pretty good boxing-wise. But I don't know if Joshua is gonna. You know, a lot of people said Joshua gassed out in the middle rounds, but I mean, look at all the rounds he went with Klitschko and still knocked Klitschko out. So you know, he was able to knock Klitschko out at you know late in the fight. So and same thing with Pulev. You know, okay. So this idea that he's going to gas out, I wouldn't depend on that if I was Fury. Okay, he still has knockout power even toward the end of the fight. Okay, and so I don't see that being an issue. You know, and I don't think he really gassed out like some people say he gassed out against Pulev. You know, that's why he didn't knock him out in the fourth round, the third round, or whenever he had him hurt. But I think that the reason he didn't knock him out was because he probably got a flashback to the Andy Ruiz fight and decided that, hey, you know, instead of me going wild in this guy, I could, you know, maybe I might get, you know, touched by him, you know, like I did in Ruiz. Let me just back off him and just play it safe and just take my time and just let the knockout come instead of chasing it, which is a smart decision to make. Okay, because you know that's how he lost against Andy Ruiz, by chasing the knockout instead of letting the knockout come to him. You know, and I think that in the Pulev fight, you know, the mistake he made when he was trying to knock out Pulev, besides trying to chase the knockout, which he was for a minute or two there until he got to his senses, is that he wasn't attacking the body. You know, he kept headhunting, which is a big mistake. Shouldn't do that. You've had Pulev turn his back and all. He should have been attacking the body of Pulev and the head, not just the head alone. Okay, he should have worked the body when he had Pulev hurt, which he didn't do. And so he needs to work on that, and he needs to work on punch selection when you have somebody hurt, and try to stay calm in that situation. You don't want to get, which he actually did, because he came back to his senses and backed off of Pulev, and took his time and let the knockout come to him, and we saw what happened at the end. And that's the way you should always approach it, okay, instead of going wild and going crazy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with finishing a guy when you got him hurt, but if you're just headhunting, that's never a good thing, So as far as Pulev boxing style, I mean, I don't know. He didn't, look that bad to me in the fight. It was just at, I mean, he's a smaller guy than Joshua, and Joshua, put it on him basically, and so. He didn't really. I mean, he was getting those uppercuts was doing serious damage, and I'm surprised he actually lost as long as he did. At the end of the day, he didn't look too bad to me. I mean, you know, he looked like he's a pretty good fighter, and I think that he can give anybody trouble that's not named Joshua or Fury. I would think. Okay, I mean, you know, so I mean, it would be an interesting fight to see Pulev against a guy like Deontay Wilder, because it looked like Pulev could actually take a punch, you know. So we'll see, you know, if he ever gets that a chance at Deontay Wilder, you know, any one of the other heavyweights out there. We'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, Pulev didn't look too bad, I would think. I mean, he looked okay to me. You know, looked like he was a pretty good fighter, but he was just outmatched by Anthony Joshua. So, you know, I'm thinking that I'm really interested to see how, you know, that fight is going to play out between Fury and Joshua. That's a real interesting fight. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. You know, and I'm really even looking forward to the fact that they're going to have 2 fights. Okay, so you know, maybe one guy can win the first fight, and then the one guy win the second fight, and there might even be a third. Who knows? Okay, but I guess it depends on how the first fight goes. Okay, and you know, it should be very, very interesting. I'm really looking forward to that that fight between those 2 guys. You know, I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting. You know, and like I said, it looks like Deontay Wilder, you know, even Deontay Wilder, his next fight should be somewhat interesting. It's going to be a gauge. We're going to be able to gauge where he's at right now in terms of, you know, his if he has made any changes to his technique, you know, worked on anything. Okay, you know, see how his confidence is in the fight. We're going to see a lot of things with Joshua, with Deontay Wilder in this fight against whoever he fights next. Okay, but the most important thing I would think is that we're going to see if he's actually, you know, made any changes to his whole boxing technique, and you know, see if he, you know, he's not, if he's still depending on the knockout, you know, the 1-punch knockout scenario that he was doing before. We're going to see if he actually made any changes to that, which would be the most interesting thing I would think. Okay, I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, Deontay Wilder's next fight without a doubt. As a matter of fact, I'm almost as interested in Deontay Wilder's next fight as I am Anthony Joshua and the Fury fight. You know, I'm really looking forward to both of these guys fighting again. You know, I'm looking forward to the Anthony Joshua AJ, I mean the AJ Fury fight, but I'm also equally looking toward Deontay Wilder's next fight to see how he's going to fight next. Okay, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I can't say that enough. I'm very interested in what he's going to look like, because, you know, again, you know, my contention has always been that if Deontay Wilder was to really develop his boxing technique and his boxing style, he would be the most dangerous heavyweight fighter we have seen in a long time. Just imagine, okay? Just imagine if Anthony Joshua could have done what AJ did, okay, in changing his boxing style and come out boxing and moving and, you know, boxing the back foot, and with that devastating right hand that he has, who could beat him? Imagine if Deontay Wilder can box like Fury, but with the power of that right hand and even the left hook. Okay, I mean, who would be able to beat Deontay Wilder? I would think nobody. Okay, not even Fury or Joshua would be able to beat him if he actually had boxing technique and boxing skills, because he has the power to go along with all of that. Okay, you know, I've always said that. Okay, that he needs to do that. Okay, this dependence on the one hand and the right hand is just, to me, is just pure folly, and it's, you know, just laziness, really. Okay, I mean, you know, with that kind of power, you should be working on your craft, developing your skills, your punch selection, you know, your movement, your timing, all of that. Okay, and you add all that together with all that power, and you'll be unbeatable. But you know, you've never taken advantage of the you know, the gifts that he has gotten as an athlete, you know, being that athletic as he is, you know, and the ability to have that kind of a punch, but he never developed himself around that. Okay, he just basically depended on that, made that a crutch as opposed to making it an asset. Okay, and so we see the result of that. When you depend on one thing, when that fails you up the creek without a paddle. So it is what it is. But yeah, I would think that if Deontay Wilder, that's why I'm really interested to see, what he's gonna do in his next fight, if he has made any changes to his whole repertoire, and and see, from there we can tell how he's gonna do later on, in the fights against people like Dylan White, maybe Usyk, or if he gets a chance to get a rematch against Fury, or to get a shot at Joshua. Okay, that's what I would think. Okay, but I'm not holding my breath. Okay, the mere fact that he hasn't really learned any lessons, I would think, from his loss with Fury, and just making these excuses that I'm seeing making doesn't give me a lot of confidence in the fact that he's going to make the right change that's needed. Because if you're going by the philosophy, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, then I don't see how that's going to help him out in any way, shape, or form. Okay, if you're just going to make excuses instead of saying, okay, I need to develop this, I need to develop that, then if you haven't learned anything, then I don't see how it's going to benefit you in the long run. So we'll see how it plays out, though. I could be wrong, and maybe he's actually learning something. He's actually doing some kind of, making some kind of changes in his, the way he actually fight, and developing more of a skill set as opposed to depending on just one punch. So we'll see how it plays out, man. I mean, I'm definitely interested to see how it's going to play out, and I'm looking forward to Deontay Wilder's next fight almost as equally as I'm looking forward to the Anthony Joshua Fury fight. That's all I got to say about that. Any more questions? Any more comments? Nothing? Okay. So, this was a live stream, one of my first live stream in a long time. I didn't, seem to get a lot of people in here, but I'm going to do more of these live streams, and, we're going to, who's going to win the Premier League? I'm a boxing guy, okay? I don't, I'm not running with the Premier League too much. I'm not into that. I'm strictly boxing and UFC for the most part. So I couldn't answer that question. And I'm not gonna waste your time trying to figure that out, But I appreciate the question anyway. But if you were actually a question, make it a boxing question, and then we can definitely chop it up. Okay, I'm a boxing guy, not soccer. All right, fellas. It looks like I'm gonna end up leaving it there for right now. Make sure you'll go to the channel and subscribe. Okay, subscribe to TBE Boxing. Okay, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of my upcoming live streams and the videos that I release. I try to release a video at least one or two per day. Okay, I don't live stream as much as I would like to, but like I said, I'm going to be doing more live streams now. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm going to schedule a live stream, to a specific time, and every day. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I'll do that soon, where I'll have a specific time to come on and live stream, so you can know exactly when I'm going to be live streaming. So I'll be doing a lot more live stream, in the future from here on in. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it, guys. Take care of yourself, Mr. Jones. Like I said, as the fight gets closer between AJ and Fury, we're going to talk more about it. And, make sure you tune into TBE Boxing, okay? Go and subscribe, okay? And We'll see you on the next go around. This is TBE Boxing. That's all I have for right now. I'm out.